Can I ask you something personal? Have you ever brushed off a dizzy spell, a little forgetfulness, or that stiffness in your legs as just getting older? I've been a neurologist for over 30 years, and I can tell you something I've learned from thousands of patients. Aging does not mean surrendering your health. What many of us call normal aging is often a warning sign. Stroke prevention, Alzheimer's awareness, brain health. These are not just medical terms. They are your daily shield, your key to living well beyond 60. The New York Times recently reported that more than 795,000 Americans experience a stroke each year. That is nearly 800,000 families facing a crisis that could have been prevented with simple habits and regular checkups. Prevention is not a luxury. It is your first act of self-care. Today I want to walk with you, gently but firmly, through the hidden risks that too many seniors ignore. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, muscle weakness, and diabetes. And more importantly, we will explore the small, doable changes that protect your brain before it needs saving. If you've ever ignored a symptom thinking it was just age, type the number 1 in the comments. If you've been lucky not to face it yet, type the number 0. I want to hear your story because your mornings matter, and so does your health. Number 1, why regular health checks save lives. Can I share something that many of my patients over 60 have told me? They often believe they only needed to see their doctor when they felt sick. For decades, that mindset has cost too many people their independence, and sometimes even their lives. The truth is simple but powerful. Once you reach the age of 45, your risk of heart attack and stroke climbs higher every single year. By the time you are 60, ignoring routine checkups is like driving a car with the warning light on, but never opening the hood. Something will eventually break down. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that nearly 8 out of 10 strokes could be prevented with early detection and lifestyle changes. That means hundreds of thousands of families in America could be spared heartbreak every single year. Prevention is not theory, it is measurable, life-saving reality. When I sit with my patients, I remind them that a regular checkup is not just about tests and numbers. It is about understanding the story your body is telling. Your blood pressure reading, your cholesterol level, your blood sugar test. They are like little postcards from inside your arteries and your brain. They quietly tell us what needs attention long before you feel the warning signs. Some of my patients say, "But doctor, I feel fine." I always smile gently and answer, "That is exactly why we need to check now." Stroke prevention and Alzheimer's awareness start not in the hospital, but in your everyday life. A checkup is your first shield, your first defense, your first chance to stay strong. So let me ask you, when was the last time you had a full checkup with your doctor? Not just for a cold or an ache, but a true heart and brain health check. Share your answer in the comments. Your story might encourage someone else to take that first step today. Because every morning matters, and so does your health. Number 2, blood pressure, the silent destroyer. If there is one thing I want every senior in America to know, it is this. High blood pressure is the number 1 risk factor for stroke. And the dangerous part is that it often gives you no warning at all. That is why doctors call it the silent killer. Think of your blood vessels as tiny garden hoses carrying life-giving blood to every corner of your body. When the pressure is too high, day after day, those hoses begin to weaken. They can stiffen, they can clog, or in the worst case, they can burst. In your brain, that burst is called a stroke, and it can change your life in one single moment. The American Heart Association defines normal blood pressure as around 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury. If your reading is consistently 140 over 90 or higher, that is considered hypertension. But here is the challenge. You cannot feel your blood pressure. You cannot guess it. The only way to know is to check it. Over my 30 years in practice, I have seen too many patients who told me, "But doctor, I feel fine." Then one morning they collapsed while getting the newspaper or simply standing up from a chair. That collapse was their first sign of high blood pressure. And by then, it was already too late to prevent the damage. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that nearly half of American adults, about 120 million people, have high blood pressure. Yet only 1 in 4 has it under control. That means millions are walking around every day with a ticking time bomb inside their bodies. Here is the hopeful part. High blood pressure is not destiny. It can be lowered with small changes. Reducing salt in your meals, walking 30 minutes most days, managing stress, taking medications exactly as prescribed. These steps save lives. I have seen patients who cut back on processed foods, started a daily walk around the block, and within months brought their blood pressure back into the safe range. So let me ask you, do you know your most recent blood pressure reading? If you do, share it in the comments. If you do not, make a promise to yourself right now to check it this week, because stroke prevention starts with that simple, powerful number. Number 3, cholesterol and blood sugar, the hidden traps. Let me tell you something I have seen countless times in my 30 years of practice. A patient comes in feeling strong, maybe just a little tired, and their blood tests show high cholesterol or rising blood sugar. They look at me in disbelief and say, "But doctor, I don't feel sick." And that is the problem. Both cholesterol and diabetes are silent for years, quietly damaging your blood vessels, until one day a stroke strikes without warning. Cholesterol is not the enemy itself, your body needs it. But too much of the wrong kind, the so-called LDL or bad cholesterol, sticks to the walls of your arteries. Over time it forms plaque, narrowing those blood vessels like rust inside a water pipe. One sudden blockage in the brain, and life can change in seconds. Now let's talk about blood sugar. Type 2 diabetes affects more than 37 million Americans, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That is about 1 in 10 people. And among seniors, the rate is even higher. High blood sugar does not just affect your pancreas. It scars your arteries, weakens circulation, and accelerates the same process that cholesterol starts. Together, they are a dangerous team, a quiet storm inside the body. The hopeful truth is that both cholesterol and blood sugar can be managed, and often improved, with changes that are simple but consistent. Adding more fiber to your meals, choosing lean protein, eating fish rich in omega-3s, and limiting processed sugar are not extreme diets. They are life-saving decisions. Exercise helps here too. A brisk walk, light resistance training, or even gardening can make your body more sensitive to insulin and help lower sugar levels. One mistake I see often is relying only on medication without adjusting daily habits. Pills can help, but they are not a replacement for lifestyle. The best results come when medicine and healthy choices walk hand in hand. So let me ask you, do you know your latest cholesterol number or your most recent blood sugar reading? If you do, type it proudly in the comments. If you do not, promise yourself you will ask your doctor at your next visit. Protect your brain before it needs saving, because awareness today can mean independence tomorrow. Number 3, cholesterol and blood sugar, the hidden traps. When I talk with patients in their 60s or 70s, many are surprised when I tell them their cholesterol or blood sugar levels are too high. They often say, "But doctor, I feel fine." That is exactly why cholesterol and diabetes are such dangerous traps. They quietly do damage for years without a single symptom, and by the time you feel something, it may already be too late. Cholesterol itself is not the villain. Your body needs it to build cells and hormones. The danger comes when the balance is wrong. Too much LDL, often called bad cholesterol, clings to your artery walls like sludge building up in a kitchen drain. Over time, those vessels narrow, and blood struggles to reach the brain. One clot can stop it entirely, and that is a stroke. Now add diabetes into the mix. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 37 million Americans live with diabetes, and the majority of them have type 2. High blood sugar damages arteries in a different way, burning and scarring the delicate lining inside the blood vessels. When high cholesterol and high blood sugar live in the same body, they form a dangerous partnership, speeding up the process that can block or burst a vessel in the brain. The hopeful truth is that both cholesterol and blood sugar can be controlled. I have seen patients lower their risk dramatically by making steady, realistic changes. Simple choices like eating oatmeal for breakfast, swapping fried foods for grilled fish, or walking for 20 minutes after dinner can shift blood numbers more than many people believe. And yes, medications are important when prescribed, but they work best when paired with daily habits that support the body. A common mistake is thinking that taking a pill means you can ignore your diet or your activity level. That mindset robs you of the chance to truly protect your health. The best shield against stroke and dementia is a partnership between medicine and lifestyle. So let me ask you, do you know your most recent cholesterol or blood sugar numbers? If you do, share them proudly in the comments. You might inspire someone else. If you do not, make a plan to check them soon. Protect your brain before it needs saving, because small choices today can mean freedom and independence tomorrow. Number 4, heart rhythm and atrial fibrillation. Listening to your pulse. Over the years, I have learned that the heart does not always speak in words, but it does leave clues. One of the most overlooked signs among older adults is an irregular heartbeat, often caused by a condition we call atrial fibrillation. You may have heard it shortened to AFib. In simple terms, atrial fibrillation is when the heart forgets its rhythm. Instead of beating steadily, lub, dub, it races, flutters, or stumbles out of sync. The danger is not just discomfort. This irregular rhythm can allow blood to pool and form clots inside the heart. If one of those clots travels to the brain, it can block a blood vessel. That is how a stroke happens. The American Heart Association reports that AFib increases the risk of stroke by nearly 5 times. Yet many people do not even realize they have it, because the symptoms can be subtle. Some feel a fluttering in the chest, shortness of breath, or sudden fatigue. Others feel nothing at all. One simple step you can take right now is to check your pulse. Place 2 fingers on your wrist or neck and just feel. Is it steady, or does it skip and jump? If it feels irregular, it is worth mentioning to your doctor. In my clinic, I have seen patients discover AFib during a routine exam, and treating it early has helped prevent devastating strokes. Now, I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever felt your heart racing, pounding, or fluttering out of nowhere? How did it make you feel? Worried, tired, or maybe you brushed it off as nothing? Share your story in the comments below. Your honesty could give courage to someone else who is experiencing the same thing right now. Remember, listening to your pulse is not about fear. It is about companionship with your own body. It is about paying attention to the gentle signals that can protect your brain and keep you strong. Because stroke prevention does not start with machines. It starts with your awareness, with your fingertips, with your willingness to listen. Number 5, movement as medicine, the role of physical activity. If there is one prescription I would love to hand to every patient over 60, it is movement. Not a pill, not a complicated machine. Simply moving your body. Because when it comes to protecting your brain and preventing stroke, regular activity is one of the most powerful medicines we have. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention notes that physical inactivity is the second leading risk factor for stroke, right behind high blood pressure. Too much sitting leads to stiff arteries, gain high blood sugar, and weak muscles. Over time, the body loses its balance, literally and figuratively. That is when falls, hospital stays, and strokes become more likely. But here is the hopeful truth. Even small amounts of movement can make a huge difference. Walking just 30 minutes a day, it can be broken into 3 10-minute walks, lowers blood pressure, improves cholesterol, and helps regulate blood sugar. Add a bit of strength training like standing up and sitting down from a chair, and you build muscle that supports your joints and keeps you steady on your feet. I remember one patient in his early 70s who thought he was too old for exercise. We started with 5-minute walks after breakfast. Within months, he was walking a mile comfortably, and his blood pressure improved without needing a higher dose of medication. What changed was not his age, but his daily choices. Now let me ask you, what kind of movement brings you joy? Is it walking in the park, gardening, dancing in the living room, or playing with your grandchildren? Share it into the comments. You might inspire someone else to take that first step today. And remember this, movement is not punishment. It is a celebration of what your body can still do. It is a gift to your brain, your heart, and your independence. Each step is a quiet message to your future self. I choose life. I choose strength. I choose freedom. Number 6, building a partnership with your GP. One of the most valuable lessons I have learned in 3 decades of practicing medicine is this. Health is not a solo journey. The strongest seniors I know are the ones who build a partnership with their doctor, rather than waiting until something goes wrong. Too many people see their GP only when they are already sick, but your doctor's real power lies in prevention. A good GP looks at the whole picture: your blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, weight, medications, and even your daily routines. Each of those pieces fits together like a puzzle, and when we see the whole picture, we can guide you toward the habits that protect your brain and your heart. I once had a patient, a retired teacher, who came to me only after she had suffered a small stroke. During our conversation, she said, "Doctor, I wish I had come sooner." Together with her GP, we built a plan, adjusting her medication, improving her diet, and adding short daily walks. Within a year, she felt stronger, steadier, and more confident. Her only regret was waiting too long to begin. That is why I remind my patients, your GP is not just someone who prescribes pills. They are your coach, your guide, your teammate. They can refer you to a physiotherapist for safe exercises, or a nutritionist to tailor a meal plan, or even connect you with community resources for seniors. This network of care can make the difference between struggling in silence and thriving with confidence. So I want to ask you, how often do you see your GP for a full checkup, not just for emergencies? Once a year, every few years, or only when you feel unwell? Share your experience in the comments. You might encourage another viewer to pick up the phone and schedule their visit. Building this partnership is not about handing control of your life to someone else. It is about reclaiming your strength with guidance, wisdom, and support. Because living well past 60 is not about luck. It is about choices, teamwork, and trusting that your health is worth the effort. Number 8, nutrition as brain fuel, everyday foods that protect or harm. Over the years, I have learned that what you put on your plate is just as important as the pills in your medicine cabinet. Food is not only fuel for your body, it is medicine for your brain. Every bite you take is either building protection against stroke and dementia or quietly raising the risk. Let's start with the good news. Some foods act like daily shields for your brain. Fatty fish such as salmon, sardines, and trout are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and keep your blood vessels flexible. Walnuts, almonds, and pecans strengthen memory and support heart health. Dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, and colorful berries such as blueberries and strawberries are packed with antioxidants that protect your brain cells from aging. Even a simple bowl of oatmeal in the morning helps lower cholesterol and stabilize blood sugar. But there is another side. Diets heavy in processed foods, sugary snacks, and salty fast food meals quietly damage your arteries. A can of soda, for example, contains about 10 teaspoons of sugar. That is more than your brain needs for an entire day. Red meats are high in saturated fat, and fried foods add to the buildup of plaque in your arteries. Over time, these choices raise cholesterol, stiffen blood vessels, and set the stage for stroke. I once had a patient who swapped his daily fast food lunch for homemade turkey sandwiches on whole grain bread, paired with fruit. In 6 months, his cholesterol dropped by 40 points, his blood pressure improved, and he felt sharper and more energetic. His brain was being fed the fuel it needed. Now I want to turn the question to you. What food brings both comfort and health to your daily life? Do you have a favorite dish that keeps you strong? Share it in the comments below. Your answer may inspire someone else to choose a better breakfast or a smarter snack tomorrow. Remember this, every meal is a chance to protect your brain before it needs saving. Nutrition is not about restriction. It is about choosing wisely with love for your future self. Number 9, muscle strength and balance. Defending against frailty. One of the most overlooked parts of brain health is muscle health. People often separate the two, but the truth is your muscles and your brain are deeply connected. When muscles grow weak, balance suffers, falls become more common, and every fall raises the risk of brain injury or stroke complications. After the age of 60, the body naturally begins to lose muscle mass, about 3 to 5% every decade if nothing is done. This condition has a name: sarcopenia. It sounds technical, but you have probably seen it. A friend who now struggles to climb stairs, or a loved one who needs both hands just to rise from a chair. Sarcopenia is not just about strength. It is about independence, dignity, and confidence. The encouraging truth is that muscle loss can be slowed and even reversed with the right habits. Resistance training, as simple as standing up and sitting down from a chair 10 times or using light hand weights, stimulates your muscles to grow. Walking, gardening, and even light housework keep the body moving and prevent stiffness. Protein-rich foods, such as eggs, chicken, beans, and fish, provide the building blocks your muscles need to stay strong. I often think of a gentleman in his mid-70s who came to me worried that he would soon need a walker. We began with gentle exercises, lifting his heels while holding onto the back of a chair and slowly practicing balance by standing on one leg. Within months, his confidence returned. He no longer feared falling, and he told me, "Doctor, I feel younger than I did 5 years ago." That is the power of maintaining muscle strength. Now I would like to hear from you. Have you ever struggled to get up from a chair or felt your legs tremble after climbing a flight of stairs? If so, share your experience in the comments. Your story could remind someone else that they are not alone and that strength can be rebuilt at any age, because protecting your muscles is protecting your brain. Every strong step you take is one more layer of defense against frailty, one more reason to trust that your best years can still be lived with energy and confidence. Number 10, stress, sleep, and the aging brain, the overlooked pillars. When we think about stroke prevention, most people focus on blood pressure, cholesterol, or exercise. But two pillars are often forgotten: stress and sleep. They may sound less urgent, yet they shape the very foundation of brain health. Chronic stress keeps your body on high alert, flooding your system with hormones like cortisol. Over time, that constant pressure raises blood pressure, increases blood sugar, and stiffens your arteries. It is like leaving your car engine running all night. Eventually, something breaks down. I have seen patients who manage their diet and medication perfectly, but stress at work, at home, or even loneliness quietly push their risk higher. Sleep is just as critical. The National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night for older adults. Yet many of my patients admit they get 5 or 6 hours at best. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that people who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours have a much higher risk of stroke and dementia. That is because during deep sleep, your brain's cleaning system, called the glymphatic system, washes away toxins that build up during the day. Without that cleansing, those toxins linger, damaging brain cells over time. The hopeful truth is that both stress and sleep can be improved with gentle, consistent habits. A few minutes of deep breathing before bed lowers blood pressure. Evening walks calm the mind. Prayer, meditation, or keeping a gratitude journal shifts focus away from worry. Even something as simple as turning off screens an hour before bedtime helps the brain settle into rest. I remember a woman in her late 60s who told me, "Doctor, I thought poor sleep was just part of aging." But when she created a bedtime routine, dimming the lights, reading for 10 minutes, and breathing slowly before sleep, she began sleeping 7 hours consistently. Within weeks, her morning headaches faded and her energy lifted. So let me ask you, how many hours of sleep do you usually get? And what helps you relax when stress builds up? Share your thoughts in the comments. You may inspire someone else who is searching for a better night's rest, because your brain is not just protected by medicine or exercise. It is nourished by peace, by rest, and by the quiet strength of a calm heart. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to remind you of something I have seen again and again over my 30 years as a neurologist. Stroke prevention, Alzheimer's awareness, brain health. They are not distant medical ideas. They are real, everyday choices that you can make starting the moment you wake up tomorrow. We have talked about regular checkups, blood pressure, cholesterol, heart rhythm, movement, nutrition, muscle strength, stress, and sleep. Each of these may feel small on its own, but together they form a shield that protects your brain before it needs saving. And that shield is not built in hospitals. It is built in kitchens, in living rooms, in quiet walks around the block, in bedtime routines, and in the conversations you have with your doctor. Here is the encouraging truth. No matter your age, your body still responds to care. Seniors in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s have told me with tears in their eyes, "Doctor, I thought it was too late, but I feel stronger, clearer, and more alive than I have in years." That is the hope I want you to carry with you. It is never too late to protect your brain and your independence. So I invite you to take a moment and reflect. Which small change spoke to you most strongly today? Was it checking your blood pressure, walking a little more, eating smarter, or creating a better sleep routine? Write it in the comments below. Your story might be the exact encouragement another viewer needs. And if this conversation has touched you, please share this video with friends or family members who are also navigating life after 60. Together, we can create a community where stroke prevention and brain health are part of daily life, not a distant worry. For those ready to take the next step, I invite you to join me in our next video. Healthy habits that dramatically cut your stroke risk today. There we will dive into simple, practical routines you can begin immediately. Habits that transform risk into resilience. Because your mornings matter, your health matters, and most of all, your future still matters. Let's walk this journey together.